Ever had your world flip in an instant? You're pushing yourself, staying up late to build something important. You're locked in, disciplined, focused. You've mapped out everything, your next promotion, your fitness goal, your side hustle. Then, out of nowhere, the project tanks, your team bails, the progress stalls, your brain screams, "After everything I did? After all the work?" You feel cheated, exhausted, maybe even broken. But here's the twist the ancient Stoics would have pointed out. That moment, the breaking point, isn't a sign of weakness. It's the beginning of your real strength. You're not being punished. You're being sharpened. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor juggling war, betrayal, and plague, didn't beg for comfort. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Translation: the problem isn't in the way, it is the way. And that's where we begin. This isn't about motivation, it's about mental conditioning. In this video, we're breaking down 10 Stoic lessons that will transform how you respond to pain, failure, and stress. These aren't tips to make you feel better, they're tools to make you unbreakable. And to understand how the Stoics became so mentally tough, we have to start by learning how they rewired their perception of reality. Lesson 1. Your mind is the gatekeeper. Imagine this. You're walking into a room full of people. You feel pretty good today, confident even. But then, someone glances at you and smirks. No words, just that look. Instantly, your brain lights up. Are they judging me? Did I wear the wrong thing? Did I say something stupid last time? And just like that, your mood spirals because of a look. But pause for a second. What actually happened? Someone moved their face. That's it. Everything else, the judgment, the anxiety, the second guessing, came from you, not them. This is what the Stoics mastered better than anyone. They trained their minds to separate facts from feelings. Epictetus put it simply, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. He meant this literally. It's not rejection that hurts. It's what you tell yourself that rejection means. It's not traffic that ruins your day. It's your belief that this shouldn't be happening to me. Your mind takes reality and runs it through a filter of ego, stories, assumptions. That filter, it's faulty by default. The Stoics said, fix the filter and you fix everything. They called this the discipline of perception. Here's how it works in real life. You bomb a job interview, you walk out deflated, your chest feels tight, your thoughts spiral. I'm not good enough. I'll never land anything decent. But that interpretation, that's optional. The fact is, you didn't get the job. That's it. No deeper meaning, unless you give it one. And this is where your power lies. You get to choose. Do I attach meaning that weakens me? Or do I stay with the truth and move forward clear-eyed? Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, wrote during a plague, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let that sink in. You don't have to fight the world. You only have to stop letting your thoughts fight you. Here's a practice. Next time you feel triggered, pause and ask, what's the story I'm telling myself right now? Then strip it down. Go back to the raw facts. That space between reality and reaction, that's where freedom lives. This is the first pillar of mental toughness. But clarity isn't everything. Because even if your perception is sharp, you still need to know where to put your energy. And to figure that out, we need to talk about control. Lesson 2. Control only what you can control. Let's imagine a storm. You're in a small wooden boat, miles from shore. The clouds roll in. Waves slam the sides. You can't calm the sea. You can't push the storm away. You can't command the sky. So what do? You grip the oars. Because those are still in your hands. That's the Stoic mindset in a single picture. You may not control the chaos, but you control how you steer through it. Epictetus put it like this: some things are up to us, and some things are not. He taught students to separate life into two categories: what you can control, your actions, your choices, your effort; what you can't control, other people, outcomes, the past, the weather, aging, reputation. Now here's the kicker. Most people spend their lives trying to control category 2. They obsess over what others think. They agonize over what might happen. They replay what already did. The Stoics would say, that's wasted motion. Let's make it real. You're up for a job, you prep, you perform. But they pick someone else. You could spiral. Was I not good enough? Should I follow up? What if? Or you could say, I controlled what I could. The rest was never mine. That mental shift, it's not just mature, it's efficient. You stop leaking energy into the black hole of what if and pour it into what's next. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you have to assemble your life, action by action, not dream by dream, not fantasy by fantasy, action. And here's the twist. When you let go of outcomes, you actually perform better. You're calmer, sharper, focused on process, but not panic. It's like an archer. You train, you draw the bow, you aim. But once you release the arrow, it's out of your hands. That's life. You show up with clarity. You let go of the rest. And when you live this way, setbacks don't shake you, because they were never yours to control in the first place. But that's just surface level strength. To train your heart for the worst moments, we need the next two tools: negative visualization and gratitude. Lesson 3. Practice negative visualization. Premeditatio malorum. Imagine this. Your phone slips from your hand, hits the ground, screen shattered. But what if you already prepared for this exact moment? Not because you're pessimistic, but because you're mentally trained. The Stoics had a name for this: premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, but it's not fear, it's control. Seneca wrote, every night we should say to ourselves, tomorrow I may lose my job, my reputation, even my life, but I will be ready. You're not panicking, you're not manifesting doom, you're rehearsing reality, because when you picture loss before it happens, it hurts less when it arrives. You've already seen it, faced it, survived it in your mind. Let's make this real. You wake up, and your biggest client pulls out of a deal. Most people spiral, they panic, they freeze, but not you, because last week, you imagined this exact thing. You asked yourself, what if I lose that contract? What would I do next? So now you move. No drama, just action. You don't need to be rescued. You're ready. But there's something even more powerful that happens when you visualize loss. It makes you grateful for what you still have. Lesson 4. Use gratitude to strengthen your mental core. When you imagine losing something, you begin appreciating that you still have it. It happens automatically. You think about your legs failing, and suddenly, walking feels like a gift. You imagine your partner disappearing, and the next conversation hits deeper. Gratitude becomes more than a mood. It becomes a shield. Marcus Aurelius wrote during plague and war, do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reflect on the blessings you do possess. Gratitude, to the Stoics, wasn't something you waited for. It was something you trained, especially when life was hard, because that's when it counts. Modern science agrees. People who regularly reflect on what they're thankful for experience lower stress, better sleep, more emotional control under pressure. But the Stoics didn't need studies. They had results. Gratitude made them calm, focused, less reactive, mentally strong. Here's how you apply these two tools. 1. Daily loss rehearsal. Pick one thing you value. Imagine life without it for just 30 seconds, not to scare yourself, but to sharpen your appreciation. 2. Gratitude checkpoint. When something goes wrong, pause and ask, what can I still be thankful for in this moment? That one question can shift you instantly from panic to peace. Together, negative visualization and gratitude form a mental anchor. They keep you centered, even when life shakes the ground. But they're only part of the equation. To become truly mentally tough, you also have to face down something else. Distraction, noise, consumption. The Stoics knew how to fight it, and they did it with something most people now fear: stillness, discipline, and simplicity. Lesson 5. Starve distractions. Feed discipline. Here's a hard truth. Most people aren't weak because life is hard. They're weak because they're overstimulated and undertrained. The Stoics saw this coming 2,000 years ago. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If your attention is always hijacked, if you can't say no to comfort, clicks, or chaos, then you don't control your life. Your impulses do. Discipline, to the Stoics, wasn't about punishment. It was freedom. It was the ability to choose where your energy goes, to act with intention, not addiction. They avoided gossip. They lived simply. They trained themselves not to need luxury, so they wouldn't become its prisoner. Today, that means turning off your notifications, choosing books over algorithms, using the early hours to build, not binge. You don't need another productivity hack. You need fewer inputs and one clear direction. But to protect your focus, to hear your own thoughts, you need something most people run from. Lesson 6. Use solitude to strengthen your focus. Stillness, not silence. Stillness. The Stoics didn't hide from life, but they did withdraw regularly. Marcus Aurelius, while running an empire, wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter retreat than in his own soul." They weren't escaping, they were confronting themselves, alone. No applause, no distractions, no input, because solitude is where clarity is forged. Can you sit alone with your thoughts for 10 minutes without grabbing your phone? That's mental toughness. That's presence. That's inner power. Because in solitude, you start to hear what's really going on inside. And once you can hear your thoughts, you can shape them. But to shape your life, you also have to stop waiting for the perfect moment to act. That's where the next Stoic trait comes in. Lesson 7. Train yourself to thrive without perfect conditions. Let's say you wake up late. Your gym is closed. The weather's awful. Your Wi-Fi's out. Most people call that a ruined day. But a Stoic sees it as training. Seneca would fast, sleep on hard floors, wear old clothes, not because he had to, but because he wanted to stay sharp. He wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare, and ask yourself, is this the condition I feared?" This wasn't about suffering, it was about freedom from fragility. When you learn to operate under pressure, to move even when the setup isn't perfect, you stop making excuses, you become adaptable. And in Stoicism, adaptability is strength. Let's bring it back to real life. Don't skip the workout because your playlist won't load. Don't cancel your writing because your space isn't aesthetic. Don't wait for motivation. Start anyway, because perfect conditions are rare. And mental toughness means moving anyway. So now, you've reclaimed your attention. You've embraced stillness. You've trained your body and mind to act regardless of circumstances. But there's still one final question the Stoics face daily. How do you keep showing up, even when you don't feel like it? That's where we go next. Lesson 8. Build endurance. By showing up, anyone can be motivated for a week. But mental toughness, that's measured in decades. Marcus Aurelius, during plague, betrayal, and endless war, still wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That's it. No overthinking, no waiting for inspiration. Just show up, do the work, especially when it's boring. Especially then. Consistency builds something most people lack: self-trust. Each time you follow through, even when you don't feel like it, you teach your mind, "I keep my word to myself." Think about it. It's not about writing the perfect chapter. It's about writing today's paragraph. It's not about the most intense workout. It's about moving your body today. The Stoics didn't worship motivation. They respected ritual, tiny daily choices. Stacked, that's how strength is built. You don't need to feel good to do good. You just need to show up. But how do you know what good even is? That's where Stoic clarity kicks in. Lesson 9. Choose virtue, not emotion. As your guide, every moment of your life is a test, not of success, not of status, but of virtue. To the Stoics, every situation, good or bad, is a chance to practice who you really are. When someone insults you, they asked, "What would integrity look like here?" When fear creeps in, what's the most courageous move? When ego takes over, how do I respond in a way I'd be proud of tomorrow? They called these moments right actions, kathakonta, not perfect, just appropriate, rooted in principle, not impulse. Virtue wasn't about being nice. It was about being strong enough to do what's right. That means speaking truth when silence is easier, staying calm when others panic, choosing effort when quitting feels safe, letting go of petty drama, even when you could win, because every decision builds your character. And your character, that's your real wealth. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Why? Because virtue isn't always loud. It's not always rewarded. Sometimes doing the right thing makes you look soft, slow, even weak. But the Stoic doesn't chase applause. They chase alignment, internal stability, a compass you don't betray. And once you train yourself to show up every day, not for validation, but for virtue, you become something rare, reliable, clear, calm. But now comes the final test. Because none of this matters if you collapse when life hits hard. The last lesson is the Stoics' greatest weapon. It's how they turned pain into power. Lesson 8. Build endurance by showing up. Anyone can be motivated for a week. But mental toughness, that's measured in decades. Marcus Aurelius, during plague, betrayal, and endless war, still wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." That's it. No overthinking, no waiting for inspiration, just show up, do the work, especially when it's boring. Especially then, consistency builds something most people lack: self-trust. Each time you follow through, even when you don't feel like it, you teach your mind, "I keep my word to myself." Think about it. It's not about writing the perfect chapter. It's about writing today's paragraph. It's not about the most intense workout. It's about moving your body today. The Stoics didn't worship motivation. They respected ritual, tiny daily choices. Stacked, that's how strength is built. You don't need to feel good to do good. You just need to show up. But how do you know what good even is? That's where Stoic clarity kicks in. Lesson 9. Choose virtue, not emotion, as your guide. Every moment of your life is a test, not of success, not of status, but of virtue. To the Stoics, every situation, good or bad, is a chance to practice who you really are. When someone insults you, they asked, what would integrity look like here? When fear creeps in, what's the most courageous move? When ego takes over, how do I respond in a way I'd be proud of tomorrow? They called these moments right actions, kathakonta, not perfect, just appropriate. Rooted in principle, not impulse. Virtue wasn't about being nice. It was about being strong enough to do what's right. That means speaking truth when silence is easier, staying calm when others panic, choosing effort when quitting feels safe, letting go of petty drama, even when you could win, because every decision builds your character, and your character, that's your real wealth. Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because virtue isn't always loud. It's not always rewarded. Sometimes doing the right thing makes you look soft, slow, even weak. But the Stoic doesn't chase applause. They chase alignment, internal stability, a compass you don't betray. And once you train yourself to show up every day, not for validation, but for virtue, you become something rare, reliable, clear, calm. But now comes the final test. Because none of this matters if you collapse when life hits hard. The last lesson is the Stoics' greatest weapon. It's how they turned pain into power. Lesson 10. Turn adversity into advantage. The obstacle is the way. Let's not sugarcoat it. Life punches hard. Your body breaks down. People betray you. Plans fall apart. Sometimes it doesn't just feel painful, it feels unfair. And the Stoics would agree, but they'd also say, good, now use it. Because to them, hardship wasn't just something to endure, it was something to transform. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This isn't a metaphor, it's a mindset reframed so deep, it changes how you process suffering. It means the injury that ends your athletic career becomes your path to wisdom, patience, and reinvention. The business that fails becomes the pressure that forces your next great idea. The betrayal that guts you becomes the moment you learn boundaries and build clarity. This isn't about pretending nothing hurts. It's about refusing to let pain end the story. The Stoics were alchemists of experience. They took frustration and made it discipline. They took grief and made it gratitude. They took failure and made it fuel. Here's a modern example. Olympic speed skater Mark Tuiter lost everything. Burnout, injury, family tragedy. And instead of collapsing, he turned to Stoicism. He began journaling, reading Marcus Aurelius every morning, training mentally, spiritually, physically, and he didn't just recover. He came back clearer, stronger, wiser. The obstacle didn't break him, it refined him. And here's what makes this lesson so powerful. Once you internalize it, nothing is ever wasted. Every delay, every loss, every closed door becomes part of the build. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, how can I use this? That shift from victim to sculptor is the final transformation of mental toughness. Because once you learn to turn life's fire into fuel, you don't just survive anymore, you become unstoppable. Now you've seen the full picture. 10 lessons, 10 tools, 10 quiet forms of power. Let's walk through them again, not as quotes, but as actions you can live. Perception. You are not your reactions. Control the lens, and you control your life. Control. Don't fight the storm. Grip the oars. Do what's yours to do. Negative visualization. Imagine loss, not to suffer, but to shrink the fear. Gratitude. Train your mind to spot what's still good. That's your anchor in chaos. Discipline. Starve distraction. Build the muscle of showing up, even when it's boring. Solitude. Get quiet. Stillness isn't weakness, it's clarity. Resourcefulness. Stop waiting for the perfect setup. Start with what you have, right now. Consistency. Mental toughness is built daily, no matter the mood, no matter the outcome. Virtue. Don't act from impulse, act from character. That's real strength. Obstacles. Stop asking, why me? Start asking, how can I use this? These aren't motivational sayings, they're field-tested philosophies, forged by people who lived through plagues, betrayal, exile, war. They didn't crumble, they endured, they led, they built, they wrote, they became steel on the inside. If they could stay grounded while the empire around them burned, you can stay grounded when your plans fall apart. Because mental toughness isn't about looking strong, it's about choosing the right thing, even when you feel broken. It's not about pretending everything's okay, it's about meeting reality head-on, with steady hands. And maybe that's what being a Stoic really means. Someone who remains calm, clear, and committed, no matter what the world does next. You're not immune to pain, but you are built to carry it differently, quietly, with honor, with intention, with strength. So the next time life presses in, and everything feels like too much, don't run, don't flinch, don't react. Remember what's in your control. Remember who you are, and move forward, one clear action at a time, like a Stoic.